What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Neon Spotlight. This is the segment on my channel where I go back through the Neon production company's entire filmography from the first film they produced all the way until whenever I get caught up. And I haven't done one of these videos in a while. I've been really focused on getting caught up on new releases, and so if you've noticed lately, that's been a large portion of the material that I've released. But I love doing this segment and the A24 segment because I think it's really fun to see when it comes to a production company what kinds of films they release, especially Neon, who I feel like Neon has really blown up since the release of Parasite. The quality of their films has just been excellent. And early on in their career, so far, I feel like it's kind of a 50-50 split. And every once in a while, I'll get a movie like the one I'm going to discuss today that I didn't know anything about at all. I think I've seen this poster 2 or 3 times, but I did not know what the movie was about. All I knew was that Mika Levy, who is one of my favorite modern composers, did the score to this film, which made me really excited to watch it for that particular reason. And the movie I'm going to be discussing with you today is Monos. Monos is directed by Alejandro Landes. On a faraway mountaintop, 8 kids with guns watch over a hostage and a conscripted milk cow. So, like I said, I was really excited to watch this movie. I didn't know anything about this really before I went in to watch it, other than, like I said, Mika Levy composing the score. And I know this movie had reviews kind of all over the place. There were some genuinely favorable reviews and some middling reviews. So I wasn't sure exactly what I would think about this. And this is exactly what I will say about this movie. This is beautifully shot. The landscape shots, everything about the cinematography and presentation is gorgeous. It has really incredible performances, and the score is absolutely beautiful, but it's really bland. I feel like it's also sort of directionless. The movie feels like it wants to say something incredibly powerful about the political landscape and like children being forced into the military and all of these ideas that can be really powerful, but it never examines them past the surface level. And there's so many meandering, repetitive scenes in this movie that make it feel like a slog to get through. Honestly, the word I would use to describe this film is boring. And I hate saying that because, like I said, I love slow paced slice of life cinema, but like the characterization of these kids is so shallow, it's really hard to be completely and totally invested. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it today. So, in this movie, we are jumped into this world where we're in the middle of nowhere, and there's this group of kids who are clearly like a part of a sort of militia. They all carry around weapons, and there's a man who comes and kind of trains them and gives them assignments. And it's very Lord of the Flies-esque. And if you watch the movies, there's even some referential things that are very directly correlated to Lord of the Flies. And early on in the film, the person there gives them the assignment that the group that they are a part of has gifted them a cow, and that the kids there are supposed to be in charge of this cow and making sure that it's safe. Well, at the same time, we are introduced to the character that they refer to as Doctora, played by Julianne Nicholson, who we assume has been kidnapped by whatever this entity is, and these kids have been keeping her hostage. They're in charge of making sure that she is locked up, and they send proof of life videos. We see a couple of moments where they record her answering these questions and all of these things. And so there's clearly something going on with the government or entity in this area, that they're keeping her for some specific reason that we're never 100% shown what that is. And early in the movie, the cow is killed by one of the kids, and it sets off an entire slew of events that kind of descends this group of children into chaos. And also simultaneously, we are watching this Doctora character, what she is going through mentally and how she is trying to survive in hopes to escape and get back to her family and where she came from initially. So, like I said, this movie was an incredible letdown for me. But I want to talk about the positives for starters. Visually, this is one of the most stunning movies that I've watched in recent memory when it comes to the cinematography. If you look at the poster, it has an incredibly haunting visual, and that is really just representative of what you see through the entire runtime of this movie. It is gorgeously shot. The landscape photography, where the camera is placed, you can tell this is an incredibly experienced cinematographer who knows exactly what they're doing. And there were so many moments that, despite the subject matter of the film not holding my attention, that the beautiful photography was what was keeping me engaged. I was really blown away by several of the shot selections in this movie, just truly remarkable. As far as the performances go, all of these young actors do a really nice job. I feel like, they have to embody these characters that are young and reckless and excited to be doing what they're doing. They're also kids, so when they're put in these horrific situations, I think the response that they have to the violence that they're witnessing, or these situations that kids should not really have to be a part of or put in, that you can feel those emotions in a very visceral way, because kids should never have to be exposed to this level of violence or to serve a military or any of those things, which is one of the things that works for the movie, is kind of seeing their expressions and the way that they respond to these incredibly horrific circumstances. And as I said, Mika Levy, one of my favorite modern composers, the score to Under the Skin is one of my favorite scores in the past like 30 years to a movie. Just brilliant. And this was no exception. I loved the music in this. I thought that it was absolutely incredible, and it was one of the things that kept my attention. But that's about where my positives end. My issue with this movie is I genuinely just did not care about what was going on. And I think it's because the story itself is so poorly established. You're kind of just thrown into this world, which you don't always need overt expositional dialogue in order to immerse you into a film. But the problem is, you get no backstory to any of these characters. Most of the relationship building that you get between them is incredibly surface level, and so everything is just hinging on you seeing these young kids go through horrific experiences, which is fine. You can make that work, but there's so much padded runtime where it's just like the kids interacting with one another, and like, sure, you could try to use those scenes to like build an emotional connection so that the audience can feel something in a more extreme way later on when they're subjected to that violence. But I just don't feel like any of the scenes really amount to a whole lot, and I just found myself wondering, where is this gonna go? And I also feel like a big part of the problem is there are multiple times during the film that you get perspective shifts where it's like part of the movie feels like it wants to be establishing these characters, building them up, and then putting them through these horrific things. And then the other part of the movie is this Doctora character who, it's like, this is a woman who has been kidnapped, wants to be back with her family, is being held for whatever reason. And it keeps shifting back and forth, which makes it really hard to see what the vision that the film is going for is, other than like, war is bad and you really don't want kids to be in a military because they're just kids. Like, I didn't really get anything past that. Like, you could provide a really intellectually stimulating conversation when it comes to governments utilizing children to do their dirty work, and then similarly to like discussing Lord of the Flies, when you put kids on this island and sort of strip conventional norms and morality away, what would they be capable of? And they try to dive into that a little bit here when it comes to conflict between the kids, the violence that ensues, kind of like forcing them to grow up rapidly, even though they're experiencing things that they're not really ready to handle. I think that there's a lot of moments in this where you could see the potential. It just never fully lives up to the potential. And when the movie ended, I thought the last scene of the movie was really great, but it didn't make me think about what I watched. I just thought there were some solid moments of filmmaking throughout the movie, but there could have been so much more. And that's really what disappointed me. I felt like this movie was laden with potential, and it just never lived up to its full potential. So have you seen Monos? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was incredibly disappointing. It was beautifully shot. It had a great score and some really solid performances. It was just really tough to get through, very poorly paced. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot. Lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.